So what's your presentation on?
Today I have two presentations. The first one is an English Central introduction. I'm basically just going to give a tour of the website and show how it all works. And
Peggy, do you know English Central? English Central is awesome. If you haven't checked it out, englishcentral.com. Aaron, what is your actual title here?
My actual title is... am I announcing this online? My actual title is Academic Advisor to English Central Korea.
Okay.
That is my current official title.
Part consultant, part missionary.
That's right, part evangelist. I was the director in Korea, and I am no longer the director. I'm pursuing some other things at the moment. So.
Oh, what other things are you pursuing? Because Aaron is also a famous textbook author.
So I'm announcing this for the first time.
This is a world exclusive.
Yes, I am now the Director of Content Development for the English division of Visang Education Group, which is a giant Korean publishing company which mostly services the public school, middle school, and high school market, but will be also doing elementary school stuff too. And they have a really big new multi-platform project that's built around extensive reading and extensive listening.
Now, you're someone who's very in tune to the world of publishing, especially language learning publishing.
I'm really allowed to eat.
Absolutely. It just means I'm going to have to ask longer questions.
Yeah.
But I'm curious on your insights to the world of publishing in Korea, especially now that you're kind of involved with publishers that are focusing on the Korean market as opposed to the Oxfords and Cambridges and more non-Korean publishers. While you're thinking about that, and you can chew for a bit, I'm going to check in with Peggy, see if she has any comments or questions for us. Oh, look at that. She's putting a link in there right now. And while I guess she gave Aaron some time to chew, English Central really is a great site. I've used it this semester. I've used it for as soon as I found it a year or two ago. And it provides opportunities for the learners to listen as much as they want to a particular video, and then they produce the output. They record themselves, and it assesses their pronunciation, helps them learn vocabulary. It's one of the most usable sites when it comes to, okay, student, here, go learn. And teacher, would you like to see all sorts of information about how your students are doing and how many videos they've watched and which words they're having trouble with? EnglishCentral.com.
Can you repeat your question for me?
My question was your insights into the world of publishing, particularly Korean publishing companies, focusing just on the Korean market, especially public education, as opposed to the international publishing companies like Cambridge and Oxford and so on.
Wow, well, where to start? That's a pretty broad question.
Not only differences, but where are both of them focusing their energies? Korea, for those who don't know, is in a transformation as far as their big standardized test. And the big standardized test here, the Korean SAT called Sunung, is the be-all and end-all of determining one's future. And they're adding a component to it now called NEET that is much more speaking and writing based, which has not been part of the exam prior. So there's a lot of reworking of materials going on around that as well.
Yeah, well, interesting. I think both the international publishers and the Korean publishers are really in a state of flux, working out sort of what to do and where the market is going to kind of go next. I think both sides are trying to innovate and come up with multi-platform development, stuff that works on mobile devices, online materials, self-directed learning stuff, so that less teacher-heavy materials, going toward in the direction of the teacher being a guide for students in how to use self-selected materials and things like that. But I think it's really hard to do well, and there's definitely a state of flux, and people are moving in different directions.
And there's really not that culture in the high schools of Korea.
Sure. But there is definitely a culture for online study in Korea, and online, using sites. There's Mega Study is a giant Korean online education company that put a lot of took these star lecturers and put them online, and did a lot of development for online courses. So there is that there. The problem is just really the actual content itself, especially for kids, has really been pretty terrible. And I think different companies are jumping in different ways. Pearson did a big partnership with Zhongchal, which is a giant language chain, to actually develop test prep materials, ironically, for the NEET test, which is focusing on speaking and writing and more, output, but actually they've created new kind of test prep materials which are, supposed to create more output, but they're still kind of test prep. And then other companies are maybe moving in other directions and looking at the need to get extensive input, extensive reading, extensive listening in, and get the students younger, get them exposed to a lot more language so that they can start using it at a younger age and thereby become fluent. So two kinds of reactions, I think. On one side, create this rush for new test prep, focusing on the new NEET test, and then other people looking at the NEET test and saying, well, actually, if we want to create this kind of better output and better writing, students are actually going to have to read and listen to a lot more content. Because we know it's the same with first language and second language. If you want to improve your writing, start reading. You want to improve your speaking, listen to a lot of content. Now, of course, I'm not a pure Crashanite, and we can't just have a lot of input. We need to have noticing. We need to have some interruptions to make sure that you're actually processing the language that's going on. And that's where online devices can really help with ebooks, interrupting the reading process, interrupting the listening process, teaching the students directly and indirectly noticing skills, and focusing on intake rather than just input. And I think savvy companies are looking at that kind of development with ebooks and with video materials and stuff like that, whereas some other companies are looking at just, okay, we're going to create the NEET test speaking level 1 to 4, and then that will be the new thing that everybody's going to do. And then, it meant that might work. Of course, me being an extensive listening, extensive reading guy, I'm more interested in the other area.
Dusty, my next question, you're perfect for it. I'm going to scoot over and make this a lengthy question so Aaron can take a bite or two. You can scooch in between us, Dusty, because my next question, let me make sure we're all still in frame here. My next question, I was asking Aaron about the state of publishing, Korean publishers, non-Korean publishers, and I was just about to ask, speaking of cutting-edge publishing, English Central just came out with a textbook this past semester, kind of a pilot textbook to see what worked, what didn't. Dusty, you were very involved in that.
Yes.
How have things gone? What are the lessons learned so far?
Well, first of all, it's a blended solution working with English Central's online programming. We developed the offline program or the offline material to complement that. It's had a very good response here during the pilot phase during the spring. We have actually a lot of interest in Japan and as well as Vietnam. So people who look at this, who are not able or don't see the benefit of simply an online course, they look at the blended solution as, wow, all right, they can work together. Let's see if it works. And so they've had a very positive reaction to the blended solution. It's very task-based. It's a very good complement to the online material, to the videos. And so right now it's taking off quite well. During the summer we're going to be getting some feedback from teachers, and we're going to use that feedback to revise the content. So maybe perhaps the offline content uses more of the online content in the book. But anyway, in summary, the response has been very good, and we're very happy. We're in the development of the final 3 books of the series, which will be the English Central 2 and English Central Pro 2, as well as a beginner course to start everything off. So the response has been good enough to warrant 3 more books. So that's good for us.
And you mentioned putting more online content into the publication. What does that exactly mean? And any other, I know you haven't gotten the official feedback yet, but the next version of this is going to be pretty similar to the first version, or any major tweaks?
Well, making the online more integrated into the book is actually, it's a rights issue, and so we're exploring that. And because
we should mention that a lot of the English Central material just uses YouTube videos that were not produced by English Central. They don't necessarily own the rights to, and so that's what you're talking about?
Yes. I mean, right now, the books the books do not use any of the actual video in the books. There's no screenshots, no still shots of the characters in the video, just because of that. But at the same time, the offline does complement the online very, very well, and they run very closely together. So actually, you could not do the offline without the online. There's reference to everything that happens in the video is referenced in the offline in the book itself.
All right, English Central, if you want to use this video, I give you the right. We can be in your textbook. We can be English Central stars.
Yes, we have no problem with that. In fact, except him. We probably wouldn't want to have him.
I definitely have a problem with that.
What's your problem?
I have a problem because this guy is like my big brother, like Kun Hyung, in Korean, but on the camera, he looks the same age as me. This is a trick of the camera or something. I mean, God, we're like 10 years apart or more, and look at him.
It's a good filter.
It's a baby face.
Honestly, I'm looking at you guys up close, and he doesn't look like that big a brother. And he looks younger than me. It's his fault.
What is the secret to this fountain of youth?
Yeah.
Broccoli.
Broccoli is a wonderful vegetable.
It is. I had some this morning, and I do every morning. But we are not here to talk about broccoli. I didn't answer the second part of your question.
Yes, other tweaks.
So broccoli is a vegetable that is also a flower.
Is it?
You learn so much at these conferences.
You do. And so I guess we should put more broccoli into the books.
Okay, any other tweaks you wanted to mention besides the broccoli in the books?
No, we actually the tweaks are more. We will tweak some of the content based on the feedback we get, and we will change some of the design. Right now, it's a bit busy, and we want it to just jump out of the page more and not be not attack you with so much information. So we're going to make it more.
Can you make it a pop-up? A pop-up book.
We'll look into that. It's the publisher might have a bit of an issue with that.
Well, once maybe we can get it to go with some kind of virtual device which pops up like kind of 3D characters.
Holographic book. That'd be cool.
That'd be great.
That technology is coming very close. I was talking to who was it? Paul Prybish, who I was here in Busan with this time last year. Who's an amazing online developer guy working with stuff in Second Life, and he was giving me a rant one day about how we can do these. We'll do these books, and we'll also include this holographic thing, so the characters actually pop up on the page. I've yet to actually see that, but I believe that does exist. That technology is.
I mean, like they do at the concerts these days. They brought back
Tupac.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
So any other thoughts about English Central or just conferences? You guys have been to a gazillion conferences each. This one is about Drive, putting students in the driver's seat. Any thoughts to share about any of that?
Well, I mean, just one of our challenges as a content developer, as a publisher, is to keep up with all of the new trends. I'm not a computer guy. I'm not a.
You've come along.
I'm getting there, but no. It's just keeping up with the new technology. What Aaron is involved in is cutting edge, and everything is going to be blended. I guess from now on, or most everything is going to be blended, and so it's a huge transition, and we're just trying to keep pace. And so these conferences help you keep pace with the new ideas that are coming up and the new trends that are emerging.
Peggy has a question in the chat room. Big question, but you guys are smart. Is public education in Korea the same as public education in the U.S.? Since you're a Mibuk Saram from America,
is public education in Korea the same?
I think all of us would say no. Well, not a total no. There's a lot more similar than one.
Can I answer here? I think. I mean, I'm Australian, so I have a kind of third perspective, or perspective on three kind of education systems: Korea, Australia, and the States. And the States, indirectly, because of being in Korea, and especially when I first came here, everything was about North America and about the States. And heck, I present with a at least faux American accent.
Can you answer this in your faux American accent?
I think I am, man. Okay. You want me to do my Aussie?
Yeah, let's hear it in Aussie.
Okay, Jeff, thanks for having me here today, mate. This is my big brother, Carl, and I like beer and going to the beach. And Peggy, anytime you'd like to go to the beach, just drop me a line, love. Okay? Now, if I was really doing my Aussie accent, you'd know all about it.
We would have to edit everything.
Yeah, exactly.
We need subtitles.
So I have this perspective on American education through teaching a lot of materials here and doing a lot of research about how it works, and going to America several times, which I survived But I think there are more similarities between the Korean system and the American system in terms of this kind of cult of ranking. And even though a lot of American educators come here and say, well, your system is not as humanistic and it's not as student-centered as us, I think, there's a lot of this, ranking universities, ranking students. You get a certain score to get into a certain university, and for some people your life is over if you don't get that score. Now, of course, in Korea, this is much more extreme. Students committing suicide. The suicide rate here is the highest in the OECD as a direct result of this kind of ultra competitiveness, and that filters its way right through down the system. So definitely, while there are some similarities, I think, in terms of the competitiveness, Korea is just like off the scale. Australia is quite the opposite. I mean, when I was going to universities weren't even ranked. There was no ranking system. I could have got into any university in Australia in pretty much any major that I wanted except for medicine or law, and I couldn't get into that in any school, right? Like the ranking system is the same at every school, within a few points difference. Whatever high school you go to, whatever score you get over that band, you can get into any university. And that started changing, and we've become more Americanized in our system, and now we have rankings and stuff, but there's still not this sense that you have to go to a certain school. In the States it might be an Ivy League school or a high-level school. There's more egalitarian idea.
That part has always been super competitive in Korea, which university you go to. But it seems to me that Korea's taken a lot of the wrong lessons from the American system. They've sort of been no child left behind. Affected. Okay, let's do more testing, and let's do more unnecessary assessment. Let's just teach the test.
Yeah, and I think as well, one of the things that is probably worse in the States, at least in the States, though I'm not a fan of accelerated reading programs, for example, and the system, it actually, with a lot of students, gets a result. Here, there's all this testing without the accelerated programs. That has started changing, I think, because of the use of technology with reading programs and things like that, so there is more access to kind of the accelerated materials that need to go with accelerated learning. And Korea gets it sort of doubly wrong because the principle of forcing a lot of learning is there without actually and there hasn't been the technology or the use of kind of, reading programs where you're reading a massive amount to kind of catch up, in these remedial programs.
I just want to answer one of Peggy's questions. She asked, is public education free in Korea? And for the most part it is. Somehow, like in middle school and high school, people pay a little bit more.
No, it's pretty much free, yeah.
I mean, in that respect, I think pretty much they're very, very similar. And the only thing I could say to add to what Aaron was saying is there's such... watching the news, just saw an internet article or video about charter schools. And now there are also a lot of IB schools in the United States. And that kind of points to the diversity there is in public education in the United States.
So IB is growing. And can you give a quick definition of IB?
IB is the International Baccalaureate. It's a curricular framework that started in Europe about 30 or 40 years ago, and it's now becoming more and more common around the world, especially here in Asia. But interestingly enough, in the United States, half of the IB schools worldwide are in the United States. And this happens like on a county basis where the county will designate one school to be the IB school, the International Baccalaureate School, and students will be able to go there if they meet certain standards.
Without paying those hefty IB tuition fees?
I don't know about that specifically. I imagine the county or the government, the state government, picks up that but I don't know about that. I can't answer that with any certainty. But the point is, there's a lot of diversity in the United States, even in public schools, and there's not that much diversity here in Korea. And Korea is much more, even though, yes, Aaron, everything in the United States is what standardized testing, and you have to get this high on the SAT to go to this school and that school. But I still think the testing in Korea is much more rigorous. In a bad way. It just consumes students from grade 6. After grade 5, to be honest, students no longer focus on learning. They focus on getting the test scores they need to get into whatever school they or their parents want them to go to. So it's really, really, really test-oriented, to me, much more so than the United States. That's my general view on that.
So, yeah, of course, by the way, maybe I didn't lead into that well enough, and you saved me by saying, I think Jeff had the point when he was saying, basically, taking the worst aspects of the American system and sort of magnified them here. I think, though, if I can kind of, by way of caveat to that, say that there are many aspects of education here. I don't want to say the system, but just can we talk about education in a broader sense even than the actual system, or in the global sense of the system, including the attitude of the community to education, the amount of importance that is put on education here is, quite inspirational. And I think it's like Korea in a nutshell. It's like, I absolutely love and adore a whole bunch of things about living in Korea. And then on the flip side, the negative points are equally as extreme. And, one of the reasons I left Australia is because it's so mediocre, and there's not an encouragement to be passionate. You stand out from the crowd, we'll cut you down.
Not everyone's
right?
like you?
I'm an exile from Australia, man. I've become North Americanized. One thing that North Americans do well, and I do very, very well, as you know, is they promote themselves. And, they're able to talk about their abilities and their brilliance with a little bit of self-deprecation. You can get away with many things that you would never be able to get away in Australia. And I could tell you some funny stories about really getting beaten up on public transport when I've been back for vacations by, talking too loudly on my phone about something I'm good at. For example, we don't do that in Australia. We completely self-deprecate ourselves, especially in public, and we don't really take compliments either. We just defer them right away. That's probably not the best example, but for example, I guess the traffic compared to how safe it is here. I walk around at night counting my money in the street if I wanted to. People being around at nighttime is family feeling pretty much everywhere. That's really wonderful. Then on the flip side, you have this awful traffic and pollution, in the big cities. You guys don't really have it down here. And I think education, the same sort of dichotomy.
We're not a big city. We're just a small town of 5 million.
Small town, man. I'm in Seoul. Come on, This isn't even a city. This is like a village. Just a whole bunch of villages joined together.
Just to answer another Peggy's question, she said, do parents have to pay a lot for tutoring to prepare for these tests?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's a
ridiculous.
Huge capital Y, capital E, capital S. They must be number one.
So I think since I have a permanent resident visa, I can tell you that at one point I made as much money from my main job as I made from teaching one family of children, 3 children in one family, 8 times a month. Paid me as much as my university salary. And that family was spending $10,000 US a month on private education. Now, they were, relatively speaking, rich. They weren't.
But the average is probably like $1,000 a kid.
It's more than that. Yeah, it's a little bit more than that.
Yeah. I don't know about $1,000 a kid, but certainly $1,000 a household just for extra. And that's even at the lower income levels.
Completely insane.
Because, like Aaron was saying, there is such a focus and so much importance is put on education because they see, as most Asian countries do, they see that is their way up. Upward. To be upwardly mobile, you have to have a good, solid education at one of the better high-tiered schools. But which actually is another difference, I think, in education in general in the U.S. and here, is that in the United States there's more of the feeling that whatever school I go to, I can be successful, rather than I have to go to this school in order to be successful, which I think is an important thing for students to recognize, that it's up to them how much they apply themselves. No matter what school they go to, they can be successful. They can meet their dreams. Their dreams don't end if they don't get into the top one school in the whole country.
Can I answer a couple of just quick points, and I'm actually going to dive off. Definitely, people don't steal your laptop while you're typing on it at Starbucks, or I just leave it and go to the bathroom. In fact, my mum was who's based in Melbourne, Australia, was telling me there was like a spate of like Korean students getting their computers stolen because in the public library they were just leaving everything set up and going off to the bathroom or going outside to talk on the phone, thinking that their computer would be there when they came back. And so they've erected signs in the public library in English and Korean which say, "Don't leave your laptop here." Like, Korea is the only country where their country is so safe and they're gullible enough to leave it behind. And the other point about teachers getting evaluated based on their students' test scores, yes, that definitely does happen here.
He may look young, but his eyesight's...
I know, wow, I can't even... That's a blur to me.